All right, so as people start filing in, I figured I'd just introduce myself. Hi, everybody. My name is Becca. Thank you so much for being here tonight. I'm a bookseller at Belmont Books, and for those of you who are not familiar with us, Belmont Books is an independent and locally owned bookstore in Belmont, Massachusetts, and you can pretty much find us right outside of Cambridge, Mass. And before we begin, I'd just like to let everybody know of a number of other virtual events coming up in December. So the first being Lily King, who's the author of 5 Tuesdays in Winter, and she'll be in conversation with Julia Glass on December 2nd. And we also have Joseph Knox, author of True Crime Story, in conversation with Stuart Turton on December 7th. And so you can register for these events as well as some other events happening later on in the month on our website, which is belmontbooks.com. That's also where you can purchase tonight's book, and I'll be sending out a link to that shortly. So if you have any concerns during the event, please feel free to message me in the chat. But if you have any questions for the authors, we ask that you type those into the Q&A section on Zoom, which should be at the bottom of your screen, and we'll hope to get to as many of your questions as we can. We are very excited to welcome Maddie Day, aka Edith Maxwell, and Maria DiRico, aka Ellen Byron. I'm just going to tell you a little bit about them, and then I will turn the event over to them. So first and foremost, we have Agatha Award-winning author Maddie Day here with us, who's the author of Murder at the Lobstah Shack, which is the latest book in her Cozy Capers book group mystery series. Maddie Day is a talented amateur chef who knows both Indiana and Cape Cod intimately. She is a member of Sisters in Crime and Mystery Writers of America and blogs with both the Wicked authors and Killer Characters. She currently lives north of Boston, where she gardens, cooks, and devises new murderous plots. And she hopes you'll find her at her website, maddiedayauthor.com, and I'll send another link out to that shortly. And we also have Maria DiRico here with us tonight, who's the author of It's Beginning to Look a Lot Like Murder. DiRico is the author of the award-winning USA Today bestselling Cajun Country Mysteries. DiRico has been a writer-producer for hit television series like Wings and Just Shoot Me, and her first play, Graceland, appears in the Best Short Plays collection. She's a freelance journalist with over 200 articles published in national magazines and previously worked as a cater waiter for Martha Stewart. She's a native New Yorker who attended Tulane University, and she currently lives in Los Angeles with her husband, daughter, and 2 rescue dogs. And she can be found online at ellenbyron.com and chicksonacase.com. So I'll send out links to those as well. So we're so excited to have you both here with us this evening. And without further ado, I'll turn the event over to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Becca. It's really fun to be back. I was here with Elizabeth DeVere a few months ago, and now I get my good buddy Ellen, and we're just gonna like sit at the bar and chat, people. Like seriously.
Well, first of all, congratulations on your launch, I have to say.
Thank you.
So I tell us the book just landed in my Kindle yesterday. So I actually have not had a chance to read it. So can you tell us? I'd love to know. It's your covers are always, I just want to jump in and relive my days in Cape Cod, family vacations. Yay! And of course eat lobster. I must have. You're so tempting. So tell us a little about the plot.
Well, so the Cozy Capers book group mysteries feature a book group, and they only read cozy mysteries. So it's a cozy mystery about a book group that only reads cozy. And this is the 3rd book in this series. And Mackenzie Almeida she's come back to town after doing a number of other things in her life. And she's opened a bike rental, repair, and retail shop called Max Bikes. And she lives in a tiny house behind the bike shop with her African gray parrot Belle, and in this book, so the Cozy Capers, they read right now. They're reading their way through the country. So right now they're reading a book set in Maine, Barbara Ross's Fogged In of the Maine Clampett Mysteries, which begins. The very first line is one of my favorite first lines, and it begins, "Julia, there's a body in the walk-in." This is the cranky restaurant owner, Gus, who yells upstairs to Julia, to her apartment. So in Murder at the Lobstah Shack, Julia Peters has a shop next door or so, the Lobstah Shack, and she calls Mac early one morning and says, "You've got to come over. You've got to come right now." And she has discovered, guess what? A body in her walk-in. And she says, they both go, it's just like in the book. So then we have a process of figuring out, like, who is this person? They both know the victim. Who would want to kill her? She's got a kind of unpleasant husband. She's got a past. She's a past beauty queen. There's just a lot of things going on. So
okay, past beauty queen. You had me at past beauty queen. I love that.
yeah. And your latest book,
Ah,
I have it right
excuse me, I have an itch.
there. There it is.
Oh, thank you.
Maria DiRico's latest
Yes.
book. So tell us something about your book.
Well, first of all, Maria DiRico is, hey, can you hold the book up again? I want to show people something.
course.
Is my Nana's maiden name. And I'm pointing, but of course I'm pointing like you can see it, that on the left of that photo, that actually, they did a great job of the house. The two-family house is really very much like my Nana's two-family house. And yeah, the one on the far side, well, it's hard to explain, but it's very much
Over
like
here.
my two-family. Yeah. Actually,
that
she was the one in the corner, the one that's by the spine, is literally where Nana lived, and my uncle and aunt and their kids lived upstairs, and that's where my character lives. And you know, Mia Karina is it's the holidays, so things are crazy. She's got a couple of crazy parties. One is a Sweet 16, which is of course just a nightmare because it's high school students and mean girls, and the poor girl who's running it is losing her mind, which means Mia's losing her mind. And meanwhile, there's also a first birthday where the theme is a nativity theme, which Mia thinks is really inappropriate for them to be dressed as Mary, Joseph, and the baby Jesus. But she finds out at the end the reason why, and suddenly it feels okay. But in the meantime, a young man has appeared on the scene claiming to be the long lost brother of Donnie Boldano, is the head of the Bob family that's running this as a legitimate business. And this Lorenzo claims to be the long lost brother of one of his Donnie's sons, which of course would mean that Donnie cheated on his wife. And so it's a big blow up in that blow up way that only Italians can blow up. Ah! You know,
And you capture that. You capture those blow-ups so well.
There's one character goes, you know, I've never been to an Italian opera. Is it kind of like this? And she goes, yeah, pretty much, after a family fight. So anyway, of course, and then meanwhile, there's this huge competition in the neighborhood run by the senior ladies of the neighborhood for the best decorated neighborhood. So of course, everyone pulls out all the stops, and they find a body, the feet sticking out of a Santa's workshop display. The one Jewish family on the block has gone to Florida, but said they could decorate their yard as long as it wasn't religiously themed. And that's where the body is found. It has nothing to do with those people. It just happens to be the one that, you know, is the easiest one where the body to be placed. So, and you know,
it's a great read. It's a great read.
Thank you.
Everybody should read the book.
Thank you. I can't wait to read yours. Now, so you talked a little about what inspired the storyline? It sounds like Barbara's book kind of inspired your storyline a little bit.
It inspired the opening
Yeah.
for sure. Each of the books in the series has like touches on a cozy mystery that the group is reading. And so Fogged In is the book they're reading now. And I've always wanted to use a body in the walk-in at the beginning. And actually, I write, as Maddie did, I write the country store mysteries. And a few years ago, I was talking, so Barb Ross and I are two of the Wicked Cozy Authors, right, our group blog. And I think we were on retreat together, and I was saying, well, I was thinking of opening with a body in the walk-in in the restaurant. And Barb said, the book I just sent in has that. I went, well, I can't do that. So I decided to instead do a twist and have it in a Cozy Capers book group.
That makes sense.
Story. And acknowledge, completely openly acknowledge that Barb did it first.
Now, I have to ask, so tell us, what number book is this?
I think it's book number 26.
26, but you
all traditionally published.
And but you just turned in what number?
Today, so that book came out yesterday, Murder at the Lobstah Shack. Today I turned in number 31.
Okay. So how? Inquiring minds want to know, what is your process? How do you manage this incredible output?
I left my last day job in high tech in May of 2013. And a few friends said, how's retirement? I said, I'm not retired. It's just I'm writing fiction full time. That's my full-time job. And I treat it like that. So I'm writing by 7 every morning. Thanks to Ramona de Feliz Long and her sprint club. Sadly, Ramona died a year ago, but the sprint club continues, and we all check in and write for an hour, and then I just keep on going. And I can write fast first drafts. I was a former technical writer, so I write sparse first drafts. They're always too short, and I no longer panic when they're too short. I go, but I can write a first draft in about 6 weeks. And Helen's eyebrows go up. Well, I just do it. And then I have 4 months in the year. So I've been writing 3 books a year or a little more. And my first book came out 9 years ago, and this is my 26th. So wow. The first few years I was not writing 3 books a year, but now I am at plus.
Do you do you outline? What do you start with? How do you kick off?
I am not an outliner.
See, this is where we're totally opposite, because I'm an outliner.
Yeah, I know. Unless it's the first book in the series, when I have to, we have all these wonderful comments coming out. I can't read them.
I know.
If it's first book in a series, I've got to design a whole world. Yeah. But if it's the second book or later, I know who my protagonist is. I know the setting. I move it along about 3 or 4 months in book time, 2 to 4 months. I need to know. I usually, I think, go with like the murder weapon or the way the person is killed, and I figure out someone that dies. That it's a little bit flexible, and then I start writing, and I come up with 3 or 4 or 5 plausible suspects, and I follow them all around and write down what they do.
That's so funny. But you know what? I've come to see my outlines as my first drafts, because I do all that, but it's the outline phase. And part of that is, I think I've said before that, it's ingrained in me from all my years in television, where you cannot move on to script until you have an approved outline. So I am my own judge and jury. And of course I get in the outline, and it's like, I have tons left to do. By the way, I once heard Arlene Fowler, who is a wonderful cozy author, say that she had, she was on a panel, and she said, well, I've retired. And I'm like, how do you do that? Yeah. How do you retire? Because I can't imagine. What would I don't know what I'd do with myself. Probably be more productive to society than killing people, maybe.
So we have a common editor, I think, John at Kensington.
Yes.
And he must love you for those synopses, for those outlines. Like, he wants me to write him a 10-page single space outline, and I just can't.
Well, for this book, I turned in a 45-page outline, so he may love it. He may also hate me. So it may not be love, it may be hate.
Too much. No, I really, I struggle to give him a couple of pages, because I don't want to know the story before I write it. See, I
guess for me, it's like, that's the outline. I'm discovering it. It's the same way. I'm just having that same period of discovery. And so it actually becomes, I think my manuscript draft, benefits for me from that. And I'm also very jealous of people who can do what you do. I for the life of me, I just sit there and my screen, it would be like Jack Nicholson in The Shining, where all what is it? I forgot, makes Ellen a dull girl. That's what it would be on my screen.
Yeah, I haven't seen that. I think I saw that did it come out in 1980? Something?
Yeah, something like that.
First and last time. I don't watch scary movies anymore.
No, I don't either. I just remember because when I worked on Wings, Steven Weber did the remake of it, the TV movie version of it. So he was walking around being a nut and, quoting that line all the time with a wild look in his eyes.
I don't know.
So how do you keep your series separate? I'll tell you, I have had a problem because I did a really stupid thing and named both my protagonists names that start with M. So people, you will occasionally in the Catering Hall Mysteries find Maggie doing something that Mia should be doing. But how do you keep them straight?
You know, I've said this in talks before, but when I was starting out, and I was writing the Lauren Rousseau mysteries, which are have 2 books, and the Local Foods mysteries, which have 5 books, and they're both written as Edith Maxwell. I was in a writing group, a critique group, and one of the members, they were all very good it was a good critique group, really constructive. And Sam would say, you know, Cam would say that, but Lauren would never say that or do that or whatever. I went, oh, that's right, I've mixed them up. Now, I asked Sheila Connolly that same question a number of years ago, our dear late Sheila Connolly. And she said, they're so real to me.
Yeah.
I just don't mix them up. And I have been careful not to begin with my protagonist names with the same letter and the same, you know, pattern. They're just, I can't even imagine mixing up Mac and Robbie, or my historical character, Rose Carroll, who's not only a Quaker and from 1888, but just not.
You know what, I have to say, I mixed up the names, but the characters are so clearly defined in my head. But for me, the Catering Hall, it makes me mad that I mix up the names, and I just could kick myself for doing what I did. But
and I haven't noticed you mixing them.
Oh, thanks. People said, hey, I was on a page 170 and suddenly Maggie took a walk at wood. I'm like, no, I did it again. And right. I do searches, but anyway, in my head for the Catering Hall Mysteries, I see Leah Remini, the actress from King of Queens, and she's a Queens girl, and she's a little older than my character, but she has one of those quality, kind of that ageless quality, and she's got that kind of spunk and that kind of Queens girl attitude. So it's easier for me to write that, because I really clearly see her.
Sometimes I'll be writing a blog post or something, and like I want to add the picture of Mac or of Robbie or of little in the Cozy Capers, little Cokie is her 5-year-old niece, and she's got blonde angel hair, and she's just a real little spunk of a kid. And I can picture her so clearly, and I'm thinking, and I start looking through my images folder for that series. I'm going, well, where's no, I made her up. There's no picture of Cokie.
I know we do have that, and especially with the catering halls, which are literally like my characters, walking the walk. I walk from the subway to my nonna's, and she's, she works at the place where I had my East Coast wedding reception. So, it's and then she goes to the bakery, which I use the real name of the real bakery, La Gulli in Astoria. It's much easier. And right now, the new series I'm writing is set in New Orleans, and I have to doing that kind of thing where some is fictionalized and some isn't, and it's tricky. With the Cajun Country Mysteries, it was great because it was completely fictionalized in terms of the location.
So talk about your new cookbook series. I think you're gonna love that.
Yes, it's going to debut in June of 2022, and it's set in New Orleans. And my protagonist is Ricky James Diaz, and of course, guess what her full name is? Miracle, another M name. So, but luckily I nicknamed her Ricky. And she comes from Los Angeles to open. She was working for like a billionaire who was caught up in a pond, and I'm obsessed with the Bernie Madoff trial. I've read everything about it. So she worked for a guy like him, and he was busted, and she ran his book collection. And so now she's starting over, and she was born in New Orleans. She was actually abandoned at the hospital at birth, and then her nurse adopted her. And then she married a man who was in town working as a grip on a movie. And so they moved to Los Angeles when Mia was 7. Mia, see, I said the wrong name. Stop with the M names. When Ricky was 7, and now Ricky's coming back to New Orleans, and she's opening up the at a culinary house museum in the Garden District, which is inspired by Ella and Adelaide Brennan's real home. It's being opened to the public as a culinary house museum, and she's running the gift shop, Miss V's, a vintage cookbook and kitchenware. And it's inspired by actually my hobby. I developed this odd hobby of collecting vintage cookbooks from like the 20s through the 70s, which I never use because I'm actually, even though all my books have recipes, I'm not a cook. But I love looking at them. It's like a time tunnel.
Yeah.
It's sociologically and anthropologically, it's just so interesting. The illustrations, the attitudes.
Sheila, again, back to Sheila. She had a big antique cookware collection. I don't know where, maybe her daughter has it, or maybe it went with
her. It's so, and I would buy them at the local, at our book sale, which of course was thwarted by COVID. But I have one of my favorites. I have the celebrity cookbook from 1928, the Cookbook of the Stars. And what's great is it's 1928, so it's that crossover period between talkies and silence. So it has recipes of like, Greta Garbo. And of course, these are all done by the publicist. Greta Garbo isn't going, yes, I'll give them my Swedish salad recipe. That's a terrible Swedish accent. My apologies to anyone watching of Swedish descent. And John Barrymore is not giving his spaghetti recipe, but still. And then it's got like Vilma Banky, whose career was done in by talkies because she had a heavy accent.
Oh, that's great. So one of my resources for my historical Quaker midwife mysteries is Miss Parlova's new cookbook and marketing guide.
Oh, how cool.
There are recipes for funerals, there are recipes for fancy dinners, there's kitchen hygiene, there's it's fabulous.
Yeah. Well, and I also find that for all my series, the fact that, I joke about having worked for Martha Stewart being the most interesting thing about me, but I have to say that it actually comes in handy because I've used some of the things we did for appetizers. I've morphed them into recipes. And with the Catering Hall Mysteries, I thought back to how we transported stuff from her house on Turkey Hill to like Manhattan or to other locations for events. So,
yeah. Oh, great.
That's great. Now what inspired the entire Capers mystery series? What was the light bulb?
Yeah, so I had proposed a couple of different ideas to John at Kensington via my agent. And a couple of them were not, I don't know. I won't go into that. So I finally said to John, well, what would you like to see in a new series? He said, well, how about something on Cape Cod? And I know that he goes to Cape Cod every summer. He loves it, he and his partner. And I thought, I can do that. And both my adult sons are big bike riders. I'm not anymore much of a bike rider. I have a lovely bike in the shed that I almost never take out because I live in a very hilly town. Mm-hmm. I thought I can do that. And Cape Cod is mostly flat. So there are these former rail trails that are now biking and walking trails. And the area where I go a couple of times a year in the off season is West Falmouth. So it's on the this part of the Cape. So that's Provincetown up there at the very tip, and West Falmouth is here on Buzzards Bay, or maybe, anyway, doesn't matter. So I've set my fictional town of Westham. There's an Eastham on the Cape, but there isn't a Westham, and I've set it more or less generally in the West Falmouth area. And the Shining Sea Trail is right there. And I go and I rent this Quaker retreat cottage a couple of times a year in the off season and do a heck of a lot of writing by myself.
That's fantastic.
No, it's fantastic. I write morning, afternoon, and night. So that was kind of, once I had the setting and the bike shop, then I could invent this town.
Yeah.
And the members of the book group are other business owners. They're the head librarian. They're the town clerk. and I have a lot of fun with it.
That's great. You know, I'll tell you something interesting about, you said to John, what would you like to do? I have a hobby. My hobby is needlepoint. I have
Yes,
several hobbies,
I
but a
know.
needlepoint. And
Yeah.
I may have to take my dog and toss him out outside for me. Not toss him, but bring him outside for a minute because he's circling. And I always wanted to do a needlepoint series and cozy series. And I mentioned it to John, who got very excited. And so I wrote up a whole proposal. And my proposals are long because my agent likes them that way. It ends up with the 3 sample chapters. My proposals end up being about 60 pages long with characters and and I read it and I gave it to my agent and I said, it doesn't work. I said, I'm not loving this. Something isn't right about it. And he was like, yeah, it's not as funny as your other series. And I'm like, something, and I put it aside, all that work. I never did it. And I could never quite, it's so funny how I just never quite nailed it. And it's still sitting. I don't know if I'll ever do it, but
Well, I wrote 2 proposals like that before
really,
the Cozy Capers. So one was, my agent said something about writing a whole grains bakery. And I picked out this perfect town in Illinois, right on the Iowa border. And I looked at the history and I wrote the chapters and I did the comps, that whole proposal thing. And my agent said, oh, well, Kensington already has a couple of bakeries. I said, oh, why did you?
no.
So then I did this series that I swear I'm going to write one day. It's a woman who is a car mechanic, and she only works on what I call analog cars. So cars without computers in them. So cars, made before 1980, more or less. And she lives in a part of the California coast that's close to Santa Barbara, and she lives in an old adobe in an abandoned orange orchard. And I had the whole thing. It's very cozy. I had the whole village set up. And John at Kensington said, but it's not cozy because it has cars in it. I'm just like,
well, oh, sorry.
No, I did a little poll on one of the cozy Facebook groups, and everybody said, I'd love to read that. So one of these days, years.
Yeah, and I think this is interesting to talk about, like the projects that, oh shoot, I was going to say something and I totally, I was going to say that the vintage cookbooks did not start out with that theme. I built an entire other proposal that with an idea, like you said, I know I've 100% faith in this idea. I will write it at some point. And I won't go into details about it because, I just won't. But Berkeley was interested in working with me. So I presented to them and they said, well, we're a little concerned because we kind of have, a series in those spaces that you cover. Is there any other way you can keep with the House Museum? Maybe she could run a rare bookstore. And I thought, I don't really know rare books. And then I looked at my hoarder's house of, with these piles of old cookbooks. I said, vintage cookbooks. So I just and then I took a lot of the ingredients because the original idea was set in New Orleans and I translated it to this series.
Great. Well, I can't wait to read it. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm nervous. I don't know why, but I am. Do you feel that way? Do you get nervous when you introduce a new series?
Oh, sure. Who knows? Are people going to like it or not? The Cozy Caper seems to be flying pretty well, so I'm happy about that. I'm working on a new thing that I don't have a contract for, a new historical thing, and I'm really nervous about that. But I'm just gonna make the first book the best book I can and see where it lands. That's fine. That's so I heard, speaking of hobbies, I heard that you have a rather impressive Advent calendar.
Okay, yes. I've always been an Advent calendar fan. And so the idea of a wine Advent calendar came onto my radar. Oh, that's so great. It's only 4:30 here, so I can't start. It's not 5, it's 5 o'clock somewhere. It's 5 o'clock for
7:30
you.
here.
Not so much here. But anyway, so I found out, we did some research, and my husband said, well, that can be your Christmas present. And so we found one at Costco that was like, it seemed too much. And then we found one at Aldi's. And then I heard they had a cheese calendar, but the cheese calendar sold out like in an hour at Aldi's. So I was on a mission to find a cheese calendar, which I finally did find yesterday. But up until then, I would just go to stores and I'd see, oh, there's a chocolate one. Oh, there's another chocolate one. Oh, wait a second. There's an Italian cookie one. And then of course, there's the old paper ones that I love. So I now have 8 advent calendars. And wait, hold on a sec. Okay. So I thought as something fun for today, I would open a window. This is my Trader Joe's chocolate calendar. So I'm going to open the window one, and we're going to see hold on a sec, what the little shape is. Okay. The little shape today, as you can see, is a little drum. That is day one. I hope I didn't spoil it for anyone else who has a Trader Joe's chocolate calendar, but day one is here. I'll hold it up where it's a little chocolate drum, which I will eat later, not now.
Well, my only advent calendar for years has been one. I don't have it out of the attic yet. Oh, it's the first. I better get it out of the attic. It's a lovely quilted calendar that my mother made, and you move the star from day to day. Oh, till it ends up on top of that.
Well, I also have I have 4 Playmobiles from when Eliza was, I bought them for her, and she would wander off and I go, oh, look, I'm putting the little scene together. And then I have other paper ones. I'm just like an advent calendar junkie.
What I like to do, so this year I'm not having no families coming home, and my partner Hugh is not that excited about Christmas. So, but I always put out my nativity scene, and it has little, I don't know, porcelain or whatever they made out of figures that my mother painted, long ago. And I've got the little stable and various things, but I've added to it over the years, and I like to be irreverent about it. So it also includes a plastic Snoopy and a plastic Garfield.
Oh, that's great.
And a plastic Pokey, which is the horse that Gumby or the whatever animal it was. And recently my figurines of Obama and Ruth Bader Ginsburg have been playing a part. So we just have a really inclusive nativity scene.
That's hilarious. And someone has mentioned, thank you all. I'm reading the comments. I'm sorry I don't have time to comment on them. But how lovely it is that you have things that your mom made. You have the advent calendar, and you have the painted figures for the nativity. And it's show and tell time, everyone.
So I recently turned in a novella called Scarfed Down, I think, or Scarfed Murder, for a Christmas scarf murder collection that'll be out next year. And it's a country store novella, and I had had Robbie and the gang in the country store devising, we'll have a special, and each day the special will reflect one of the 12 days of Christmas. Mm-hmm. And of course, after about the second day, they're going, oh my God, what can we do with 3, whatever they are, calling hens? So I realized I had this wall hanging that my mother made.
Oh, that's fabulous.
This quilted, I can't show you the whole thing.
Okay, Drew Ann Love is here, and she's a master quilter.
Oh, I know she does.
She must be salivating. Drew, you must be looking at that going, ooh, I'd like to get my hands on that.
This was a panel that my mom quilted around, but I took inspiration from 12 Lords of Leaping, and they're like Pillsbury lords.
That's great.
Their little crowns and their green belts. So that went straight in the novella.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's a beautiful quilt. And Drew is like, yeah, she is salivating.
Yeah, it's like a laptop. So we have people, we have some giveaways. And we want to do it now before it gets on. Do you need to go out with your doggy?
No, he's disappeared, so he's probably done his business in the house. I'll worry about that later.
Well, not. So Ellen, what's your giveaway?
Well, the only thing I'll show, I'm going to do a giveaway. I have a set of stickers from all my books, and they're really of the covers, and they're really beautiful. And I also have bookmarks and recipe cards. And then I made these little these little paper ornaments. The back didn't come out so great, unfortunately, but I'm going to include one of these rare ornaments.
Collectible.
What about you, Edith?
Well, I'm going to give one lucky attendee a $25 gift certificate to Belmont Books.
Oh my goodness.
You can use online. And that gives back to the bookstore and its books. And so the way we're going to do this is...
I got to up my game. All right, I'm going to throw in a $10 gift because I have to do the mailing too. So I'm going to throw in a $10 gift certificate to the store.
I have another one. Oops. And that is one of my special author aprons. Oops.
Oh,
author apron.
Oh, that's fantastic.
That I keep them for very special giveaways. So what we're going to do is ask whose birthday of the people in attendance is, and Becca's going to track this for us, whose birthday is closest to November 2nd. And you can enter that. You can, if your birthday is at all close to November 2nd, put it in.
Okay.
And that's for my giveaway. And we'll tell you why in a minute. Ellen?
And whose birthday is closest to January 12th? So, okay, October 5th, August 8th, October 31st, January 4th.
There's one.
Okay.
So Becca's going to assess whose are the closest.
You can keep an eye on it, Becca. Meanwhile, Edith, let's share our 330 ideas while Becca is monitoring the birthdays.
So Ellen had this brilliant idea, and these are ideas for Christmas gifts. We have ideas for 3 different gifts that cost under $30 once you start, Ellen.
Okay, so first of all, and by the way, you can support your local bookstore by applying this to any series. I will show you. You can buy all 3 of my Catering Hall Mysteries as a gift for someone for under $30. Edith, your turn.
You can buy all 3 of the Cozy Capers book group mysteries for under $30.
Perfect. Okay. Or you can buy one beautiful hardcover. This is my recent Cajun Country Mystery, Cajun Kiss of Death. And by the way, Edith, your books, they have, I forgot, do the Cozy Capers have recipes too?
The Cozy Capers have recipes too.
Okay, so our books are both mysteries and recipe books.
They are.
Now you go.
And you could buy any 3 of the Country Store mysteries.
For under $30.
Under $30.
And my final, hold on a second, I gotta reach all the way. Oh, I hope you can't see behind me because it's a bit of a mess back there. Oh, you could. Oh, well. So you could buy Mardi Gras Murder, which I'm thrilled to share won the Agatha Award, is available now in a trade paperback, which is about $17. You could combine that with a box from the dollar store, a festive box from the dollar store, and add some delightful Cajun food, like a jambalaya mix and a roux mix or a seasoning mix, and make a lovely little basket that includes reading and eating.
I want that one.
Your turn.
Or you could buy 2 of the Edith Maxwell Quaker Midwife mysteries, any 2 for under $30. So this
I believe one of them won the Agatha Award. Am I right?
Yes, not one of these 2, but Charity's Burden won the Agatha Award. 5 of them have been nominated for an Agatha Award for Best Historical Mystery. They're written as Edith Maxwell. They are available online and from bookstores.
Yes, and all wonderful reads. Yeah. So Becca is she's still monitoring. It's like, let's make a deal. It is.
I have winners.
Oh, okay.
Winners, okay.
Okay, so for Maddie's or Edith's, whatever you want to call them, winner, we have Judy Singer with the birthday October 31st.
Great. So Judy, send me an email at edith@edithmaxwell.com. Okay, and I'll arrange the gift certificate.
In the chat next. All right, and then our second winner with Ellen is Teresa Ing.
Oh, Teresa. Hey, Teresa, if you don't have my email, I'll give you my personal. You can either reach me through my website, the contact page, if you don't remember this, but it's Ellen Byron LA at outlook.com. And it is LA because there is an Ellen Byron who writes for the Wall Street Journal, and I am not her. Although occasionally people pitch me products and ideas for business articles, which are useless to me. Is it, buddy? Okay, Edith, take it away. I'll be right back. I've got to run Pogo out. Hold on a sec. And pardon the mess in behind me. I didn't know I'd be getting up. Okay,
no worries. No worries. No worries. So gosh, I know what I'll show you. So I got in today, especially from my editor, the cover that no one has seen but you of the next Cozy Capers book group mystery. This is it's slightly larger than that. I mean, there's more real estate on it. Murder in a Cape Cottage. Isn't that beautiful? It's beautiful. It takes place in the week after Christmas. It starts at the day after Christmas. And spoiler alert, in Murder at a Lobstah Shack, Mac and Tim agreed to get married. So they're in the fourth book, they're going to get married on New Year's Eve. And they start on the day after Christmas, tearing out a wall in Tim's cottage to make a bathroom out of a closet. And guess what they find? They find a 90-year-old skeleton wearing a wedding dress, whose hands are chained to the wall. And Mac has 5 days, 6 days to solve this murder before her wedding. So it's tight. The time is tight, and so it looks kind of like a Christmas book, but it takes place after Christmas, and but it's such a beautiful cover.
That cover's gorgeous,
isn't it gorgeous? Kensington just does such a beautiful job. In the book, there isn't quite that much snow on the ground, but we'll let that go. They got the season right.
So, are we talking about what's coming up next?
Yeah, I was just talking about that. Yeah. You've got a cover reveal.
Well, I am not going to share. I'm going to pass because I'm going to announce that on Sunday, you can all go to drewsbookmusings.com and you will see I'm doing a cover reveal through Drew for my cover, and I'm really excited for the first vintage cookbook mystery is called Bayou Book Thief, and there are peacocks at this estate. I decided there'd be peacocks. So there's a peacock on the cover, and it's a really beautiful cover. And it's with Berkeley Prime Crime as the publisher. So yes. And so Mia, see, I did it again, Ricky. So Ricky relocates to New Orleans and murder and mayhem ensues.
Great. So, and on Friday, this Friday, Mac's boyfriend Tim is a guest on Day in the Life at Drew's Book Musings. So that's on December 3rd.
We're keeping Drew busy.
We're keeping Drew busy. She's keeping us busy.
Oh, there it is. She listed the link there. Yeah. So I hope you'll yeah, so it's exciting, and it gives me reasons to go back to New Orleans. So that's always a good thing.
I love your book set in New
Oh,
Orleans.
thank you. Thank you so much. So right back at you. I get to visit the Cape. That's one wonderful thing about cozies is that you really, they're like a little vacation. Mm. And the historical, you get to travel to different periods, different locations. I just really love that about our genre.
Yeah. And even so in Murder in a Cape Cottage, it's a contemporary mystery, but yeah, I have this whole scenario that happened 90 years earlier. So I was researching fashions and travel plans and all that from late 1930s, 1940.
I don't know how, you write a historical mystery. I love to read historical mysteries. I have no idea how people can write them. I mean, it seems it's so hard.
Well, it's so interesting.
Yeah.
Like delving into all this is so interesting. I had no idea. So I moved to this town of Amesbury not 9 years ago. And I started writing the Quaker Midwife Mysteries basically the next year. And they're set right here in Amesbury, which has a very rich manufacturing, textile factory, carriage factory business history. And I had no idea how much I would love being an amateur historian. Like I wasn't one. I don't have a degree in history, but I hung out in the Amesbury room at the local library, and I picked the brain of our research librarian, and I looked at the maps, and I looked at the newspapers, and got books like Miss Parlo's cookbook and the guide to police procedure in Massachusetts from 1970 and all
well,
that.
I see that Mary Sutton, who also writes as Liz Millard, she writes a historical series set in the 40s, and she spent a lot of time with old magazines, old maps, and you have to be very careful not to fall down the rabbit hole of research. I bet.
Yeah. Right.
Bet.
And you have to do a lot that doesn't go into the book.
Yeah.
But you add that one little detail, that one fine point. So my new historical venture is in the 1920s, and I have one book already written set in Pasadena in 1920, and another one that I'm working on set in Boston in 1926.
Oh wow!
Couple young women PIs who happen to be my grandmothers, so this is their alternate history.
Oh, that's so interesting.
So
they happen.
Something happens.
That's so cool. Yeah, I said that, and I wrote my standalone, which involves my real life grandfather's disappearance in 1933. Part of it is set in the 1930s, and then part of it is now. And the thing is, it happened. He disappeared. He was actually, for some reason that I think had to do with Meyer Lansky, was living up in Roxbury, Massachusetts, which I know nothing about. So I set it in New Orleans because it looks, so much of New Orleans looks now like it did 50, 60, 200 years ago.
Yeah.
So, it's hasn't changed that much in huge sections of the city.
Yeah.
So
that's what I noticed about Amesbury. I mean, I can just walk around town and so much of it is still there, and I can check the maps, and so that wasn't there, is gone. That's a parking lot, but all those buildings, most of them are still here.
Yeah, that's really cool. Well, should we take a look at the questions?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Becca's gonna feed us questions.
Yes.
All right. So the first question we have is from Denise, and she's addressing Maddie, and she's wondering, I know the area of Cape Cod where the books are set, but I live in Falmouth Village. I was wondering how much your setting reflects the distinct identity of West Falmouth. I never looked at the other parts of Falmouth that way. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but
yeah, they say Falmouth. We say Falmouth. Yeah. I think it's more that area. So it's set on Buzzards Bay. So you like the sun sets over the water, like it does in California where I grew up, which is not where it usually sets in Massachusetts. Usually it rises over the water. I kind of loosely based the downtown of Westham on Falmouth's main drag. And I go several times in the fall and the spring usually, and I really take close note of what's blooming and what trees grow there and what shrub, and the colors and the smells and the birds and all that. But it's not specifically Falmouth, but it is. I hope it has the flavor of the Cape. Yeah.
And then there's one more question from Denise, and she's asking, are you speaking from your writing spaces? She sees a bunch of teapots in the background.
Oh.
Yes, and I am in my office, which I've actually been sharing during the pandemic with my husband, which has actually worked out well. He's now going back to the office a few days a week. And the teapots you see in the background are us I'll be honest, it's me showing off my Agatha award. So I just thought, why not? Why
You
not?
have to. Why not?
You have to.
Right. Yeah.
So
Yes.
that's, but I am a tea drinker. I don't drink coffee. I actually am the one person maybe in the world who despises anything coffee flavored. Like I can't stand coffee. Ice cream, if I get a chocolate that has, I literally will rinse out my mouth. Coffee and cilantro are the two anathema to me.
Oh my
Both
gosh.
of them.
I made mocha muffins this afternoon. I'm not bringing
They are
one
going to, they're delicious for someone.
Yes. They are.
For a lot of people, just not me.
So this is, I'm facing my laptop where I stand to work, and that is my fake Agatha teapot. So I won the Agatha Award for Best Historical Novel for Charity's Burden, my fourth Quaker Midwife mystery. And it was the first year of the pandemic. And they didn't have, they had an announcement online and they didn't have even thank you speeches. And they claimed they couldn't send the teapots. And this year it was also online and they still didn't send my teapot. So I hope they're saving it for next April.
I believe they are.
It seems kind of crazy because people who get the Agatha in person and don't want to carry their teapot home, the conference actually mails it to them on the spot. So not quite sure about that, but
well, I think it's because they're hoping to present it in person. So I think that's the goal.
Yeah,
and
I know.
Yeah,
I know. But so my lovely Wicked Authors blog mates made a facsimile teapot for me. that year, that first year, I guess that was last year and a half ago, and they said, "What? They're not going to send your teapot." So then this teapot showed up, and it looks very much like the actual Agatha teapot.
So the next question we have is from Allison, and she's wondering, she says, I love the Country Store series and love listening to them. Do you have say in the narrator? Does the narrator sound like Robbie to you?
Oh my gosh, that's a good question. I have no say in the narrator. They don't even ask me questions. I know certain other authors. You have books and audio, Ellen?
Yes. And I have to be honest, I have this weird thing where I was a playwright and I could not watch my own plays. I don't know if you all know a writer named John Patrick Shanley. He did Moonstruck. He's, many plays. He became a famous screenwriter too. Danny and the Deep Blue Sea, Frankie and Johnny at the Clair de Lune. He actually edited my play before he started his own career. And I ran into him on the stairs when I was trying to escape from one of my productions. And he turned me around and said, Ellen, you have to watch your own plays. And I have not listened to my books. For one thing, of my senses, my oral sense is my worst. I'm a visual person. And I have ADHD, so it's easy for me, if you haven't noticed, it's easy for me to get distracted and unfocused. And also I start getting really anxious. So I don't, and I started as a performer. And so, which is another reason a lot of people, when they're writing their books, will read them out loud. I don't do that because, first of all, I have mild asthma and it's really hard. As you see, I've been breathing a lot. The other reason is I start acting it out. And I stop paying attention to the writing and I just start performing it. So I think listening to someone, I have to do it but I'm bad about it.
So I listened to the first two all the Country Store mysteries are in audio, and all the Cozy Capers book groups are in audio. And I started listening to I did listen to the first two Country Store mysteries. And the first one, I found it so alarming. I'm not a big audiobook listener anyway, although I've gotten a couple of very long solo car drives. It's just lifesaver. Like you put on an audiobook and then you're there 8 hours later, but it doesn't distract you from the driving. I don't really I think the narrator sounds older than Robbie in the Country Store books. And she's so dramatic. I would write I have a sentence in there where Robbie is thinking, and she's thinking to herself, well, that was weird what that guy just did. And the narrator goes, well, that was weird. It's too like I don't. That wasn't in my head that way when I wrote it. It's fine. She's consistent. She keeps the voices consistent. So I don't listen to them anymore. I've listened to the beginning of Murder on Cape Cod. It's a different narrator, and it's fine. I just don't need to listen to it. I'm curious though. I have a novella that came out in Christmas, Cocoa Murder, last year, the year before. And the first author in the novella is in the collection is Carleen O'Connor, and it's a novella set in Ireland. And I actually, that's the last one I got where they would actually send me to CDs. And I keep meaning to open it up and listen to it because I don't know if that means the narrator is the same for the whole audiobook. And does that mean that I have an Irish accent dictating my book on Cape Cod? I don't know.
Oh, that's funny.
Narrating. So
you know what, as a veteran of my plays, often involve Cajun country or Cajun actors, and having heard that accent massacred by many performers, I think part of me lives in fear of it. I'll tell you, I've listened to one book entirely on audio, only one book, and it was Bob Evans' The Kid Stays in the Picture, because he read it himself. Oh, and it was so funny to listen to because he would say, "Was I upset? You bet I wasn't." It just became this, I think I forgot what show I was working on, but we would all pass it around, and then we would do it in the room. Is that a good pitch? You bet it isn't. No, we would just mimic.
So when my kids were young, and they're in their 30s now, young and mid 30s, we had a set of cassette tapes of E.B. White reading Charlotte's Web.
Oh.
Reading his own book. And we would travel from northeastern Massachusetts to Quebec frequently, where my sister lived. And we listened to that over and over in the car. And it was like he's got that Maine accent, and he's reading his own book for kids. And it's just magical, absolutely magical. I don't think they have those tapes anymore, but yeah, that was a really great experience. And I've heard people say that they've listened to Michelle Obama reading her book, her recent book. The name is
Becoming.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that was just really, really great. A great read. So
yeah.
So I know Ellen has to run.
Yes, but there is one. I have one more minute, and there was one question that was in the comments. Do you enjoy using your pets in your writing? So I'll jump in because our rescue basset hound, Lucy, who passed away a number of years ago, she's on the cover of all my Cajun Country Mysteries, and I've written all our other doggies into all my books, and it's absolutely a way of immortalizing them. And the answer is yes. In fact, my little Pogo is right here right now. What do you need, baby? Oh. I'm a dog nut. So.
And I love that Birdie, my late Birdie, and my favorite picture of him. He's in all the Country Store Mysteries. He's on every cover. Like, it doesn't look like him on the covers, but yeah. So he lives on too. He died a few years ago. But and I've never had an African gray parrot. But I have a friend nearby who has one, and I get to go over and listen to Jewel and write down what Jewel says for Belle.
That's fantastic.
Parrot.
I do have to go now. I will end by saying I've never had a peacock, nor do I intend to have one, but it's really fun writing them because they've got a lot of attitude.
Ellen, thank you for joining me.
Thank you. Congratulations again. I love you all. I can't wait to see you in person. Becca, thank you. Take care.
Much.
Bye.
Have a great night, everybody.
You too.
I'll see you at Malice.
Thank you so much, Edith, and congratulations again. Thanks for coming back.
Lovely. Lovely.
This was amazing. And please remember to use the link in the chat to purchase the book. And without further ado, that's it. I think have a great night, everybody.
Thank you, everybody, for coming. Love you.
Thank you so much.
See you online.